There is a moment in football when everything shifts, when the momentum swings so hard and so fast that the team that was in control suddenly finds itself chasing the game with 10 men and nowhere to turn. That moment happened at Old Trafford today, and it came down to a single decision, a single player going to ground inside the penalty area and a referee pointing to the spot. Maxense Lacroix had already left his mark on this game before that moment. The Crystal Palace defender had given his side the lead inside just 4 minutes, heading home to put Oliver Glasner's team in a commanding position at Old Trafford. 1-0 up, playing with confidence, with momentum, with a genuine belief that they could take something from one of the hardest grounds to visit in English football. And then it all unravelled. Lacroix pulled Matias Kuña to the ground inside the penalty area. Referee Chris Kavanagh pointed to the spot immediately. VAR reviewed the situation, and when that review was complete, Kavanagh made his announcement to the crowd. Crystal Palace number 5 commits a clear holding offence which denies a clear, obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Final decision is penalty and red card. Just like that, the game was transformed. Crystal Palace went from 1-0 up with control of the match to 1-0 up with 10 men and a penalty to face. And Manchester United had their lifeline, the stakes. To understand why this moment mattered so much, you have to understand what was at stake for Manchester United today. The situation at the top of the Premier League is incredibly tight. Manchester United came into this game fighting for Champions League football. Every point matters, every win matters, and a home defeat or even a draw against Crystal Palace, who had made their defensive shape very clear from the opening whistle, would have been a damaging result. There was also the context of what had just happened in the league. Aston Villa, one of United's direct rivals in that top 4 race, had suffered a surprise defeat to Wolves on Friday night. That result opened a door for Michael Carrick's side. It gave them the opportunity to consolidate their place in the top 4, to move level on points with Villa, and to hold the advantage on goal difference. Letting that opportunity slip at home, especially after going behind so early, would have been the kind of moment that defines a season in the wrong way. So when Lacroix brought down Kuña and when Kavanagh pointed to that spot, the weight of everything that was on the line became immediately clear. If you want this level of analysis on stories that actually matter to Manchester United's season, hit that subscribe button right now. At United HQ, we break down every turning point, every decision, every consequence. You do not want to miss what is coming next. Let us go through this carefully because there are several layers to what happened this afternoon. And each one tells you something important about this Manchester United side and about the tension that surrounded this result. The opening period of this game did not go to plan for Manchester United. Crystal Palace came to Old Trafford with a clear and organised defensive structure, and within 4 minutes they had turned that structure into an attacking opportunity. Maxense Lacroix, the defender who would later become the villain of his own story, got on the end of a chance and headed home to give Crystal Palace a 1-0 lead. Conceding that early at home is never ideal. It forces the home side to do all the work to break down a team that is now sitting deep and defending with confidence. And Crystal Palace under Oliver Glasner are not a side that crumbles easily. They held that lead all the way through to half-time. So Manchester United went into the dressing room at half-time 1-0 down, needing a response. The second half is where the story takes its defining turn. Lacroix and the incident with Kuña. This is the moment that Oliver Glasner is still furious about. And when you listen to his words carefully, you start to understand exactly why the Crystal Palace manager is not simply complaining about a tough decision. He is making a very specific technical argument. His position is that the foul began outside the penalty area and that Matias Kuña was smart enough to wait to hold his movement to allow the contact to continue until he was inside the box before going to the ground. Those were Glasner's exact words. He said Kuña is very smart to wait until he is inside the box and fall down. He went further, saying clearly that in his view it is not a penalty. He accepted there may be a red card for a foul that began outside the box, but his argument is firm. The foul started outside. The penalty should not have been awarded. Now referee Chris Kavanagh disagreed. VAR reviewed the situation and upheld the decision. The ruling was a clear holding offence. The ruling was that it denied a clear and obvious goal-scoring opportunity, and the final decision was both a penalty and a red card. Crystal Palace defender Chris Richards also spoke after the game, and interestingly, he also acknowledged Kuña's intelligence in the moment, describing him as a smart player. Richards said that if you feel a tug inside the box, you are going to go down. He gave credit to Kuña for recognising the moment and taking advantage of it. So you have the Crystal Palace manager and a Crystal Palace defender both using the same word to describe Matias Kuña. Smart. That is not an accident. That tells you that inside the Crystal Palace camp, the feeling is that they were outfoxed as much as they were wronged. They believed the decision was incorrect, but they also acknowledged that Kuña played the situation with intelligence. Glasner also used another phrase that is worth paying attention to. He called it, quote, maybe a little bit the Old Trafford bounce. That is the language a manager uses when he feels the home advantage has played a role in a decision going against his team. It is not a neutral observation, it is a pointed one. Now let us turn to the Manchester United perspective and specifically to Bruno Fernandez. The captain stepped up to take the penalty, and what he revealed in his post-match conversation with Sky Sports gives you a fascinating insight into how that situation actually unfolded on the pitch. Fernandez said that Kavanagh came to him and told him straight away that it was a penalty. The question for the referee at that point was not whether it was a foul. He was already certain it was a foul. The question was whether the nature of the foul, a pull or a push with no intention to play the ball, warranted a red card. Fernandez offered his own analysis of that exact question. And he said that when it is a push or a pull and there is no intention to go for the ball, it is a red card. That is the rule as Fernandez understands it and as Kavanagh applied it. So the referee told the United captain it was a penalty before VAR had even finished its review. The red card was the part under scrutiny. And when VAR completed its review, both outcomes were confirmed. Penalty and red card. Fernandez then did what great penalty takers do. He composed himself, stepped up and scored. He sent Dean Henderson the wrong way, converting emphatically. The goalkeeper, who had a previous connection with Manchester United during a loan spell, apparently told Fernandez after the game that he had intended to go to the same side as he had saved a penalty the previous week. But he went the opposite way and it did not matter. 1-1. Crystal Palace with 10 men. Manchester United with the momentum. The transformation in this game from that point was total. Crystal Palace had come to Old Trafford with a defensive plan, with organisation, with discipline. That structure became far harder to maintain with 10 players. The spaces opened up, the energy shifted, and Manchester United took full advantage. Benjamin Sesko completed the comeback, and it was Fernandez himself who turned provider, assisting the goal that sealed the 3 points. The final score was 2-1 to Manchester United. Michael Carrick's side moved up to third in the Premier League. They are now level on points with Aston Villa, but crucially, they hold the advantage on goal difference. And with no European football to deal with between now and the end of the season, the focus is entirely on the league. That last point is not a small detail. The absence of European competition means no midweek Europa League or Champions League fixtures to drain the squad. No rotation headaches, no fixture congestion, just a clear uninterrupted run at securing a top 4 finish. That is a genuine advantage over sides who are still involved in multiple competitions. Fernandez himself acknowledged the position the club is in after the final whistle. His message was measured and precise. He said there are a lot of games still to go, and it is important not to feel too settled in the position they are in. The priority is to keep making as many points as possible. That kind of language from a captain matters. It is the language of a group that understands the work is not done. That 3 points today is just 3 points today. That the next challenge is already on the horizon. And that next challenge arrives on Wednesday evening. Manchester United travel to St James Park to face Newcastle United, a difficult away fixture against a side with their own aspirations and their own agenda. The work continues immediately. Now let us return to the wider significance of this result because it carries more weight than just 3 points. Crystal Palace arrived at Old Trafford having taken the lead inside 4 minutes. They were well organised, they were competitive, and for large parts of this game before that second half moment, they were arguably in control of their own destiny in this match. Oliver Glasner is not a manager who sets his team up to be passive. He prepares his players to compete, and they did compete. But the red card changed everything. Chris Richards said it himself. After the red card, Manchester United rode their momentum. That is an honest and accurate assessment from someone who was on the pitch watching it happen. The debate about the decision itself will continue. There are clear and opposing views on whether the penalty was correctly awarded. Glasner believes the foul began outside the box. Kavanagh and VAR believe the holding offence inside the box was sufficient and clear enough to award the penalty. These are two genuinely different interpretations of the same incident, and they are not easily resolved. What is not in dispute is the consequence. Lacroix is dismissed. Crystal Palace are reduced to 10 men, and Manchester United go on to win the game. The role that Matias Kuña played in engineering that moment is also worth examining carefully. Both Glasner and Richards described him as smart. That is a specific acknowledgement of his awareness in the situation. He felt the contact from Lacroix. He recognised that the contact was continuing as he moved into the penalty area, and he chose the moment to go to ground in a way that maximised the impact of the foul on his team's situation. Is that gamesmanship? Yes. Is it illegal? No. It is the kind of intelligence that experienced players develop at the highest level, knowing where you are on the pitch, knowing the significance of your position relative to the penalty area, and knowing when to make the most of the contact you are receiving. Referees and VAR officials are then placed in the position of judging whether the contact itself, wherever it began, met the threshold for a penalty and a red card inside the box. On this occasion, they decided it did. The reaction from the Crystal Palace camp is understandable. Losing a player of Lacroix' quality to a red card when you are winning 1-0 away at Old Trafford is a devastating moment. The feeling that the situation was influenced by clever play from the opposition is equally frustrating. And the suggestion that the atmosphere in the venue played a role in the decision is the kind of thing managers say when they feel justice was not fully served. But the result stands. Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 1. Now let us pull back and look at what this means in the context of the season. Manchester United are third level on points with Aston Villa, with a better goal difference, with no European football, with a manager in Michael Carrick who is clearly building something with this group. The Aston Villa defeat to Wolves on Friday night was the kind of gift you cannot afford to waste, and Manchester United did not waste it. They came from behind, they absorbed the pressure of a hostile start, and they found a way to win. That is the mark of a side that understands what is at stake. The next few weeks will be crucial. The fixture list is not without its challenges, but the position is clear. Manchester United are in the fight. They are in the top 4, and they have the advantage of focus. No distractions, no midweek European nights, just the league. For Crystal Palace, the defeat is painful, but the performance was not without merit. Glasner acknowledged that directly. He said it was a good performance regardless of the number of players on the pitch. The goal from Lacroix in the 4th minute showed their quality on set pieces. The organisation before the red card showed their defensive discipline, and the manner in which they continued to compete with 10 men showed the character of this group. The red card cost them, and the debate about whether it was the correct decision will follow this result for some time. But in the world of football, results are what matter, and today the result belongs to Manchester United. 3 points, 3rd place, and a Wednesday night trip to Newcastle already on the horizon. The analysis is clear. This Manchester United side is in form. They are in position, and they are not letting opportunities pass them by. That is the situation at Old Trafford today. That is what this result means, and that is why this afternoon's events matter far beyond the 90 minutes. Stay with United HQ for everything that comes next.